What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel here on this lovely post-Super Bowl Tuesday. Felt like it was a perfect time to do my post-Super Bowl mock draft. Now that we know the draft order has been set, shout out to all the OG Buck fans. You earned the right to pick at 32. But for everyone that got that all-star jersey and you're not one of those, like, I just follow Brady wherever he goes type fans because you're the worst. Congrats on winning the Super Bowl. It's now mock draft season. It's draft season, and let's just start this right out the way. The draft doesn't really start at pick one. Trevor Lawrence is gone. I kind of had a hypothetical. You guys can let me know in the comment section below. What do you think is more expensive? Trading for Deshaun Watson or trading for the number one overall pick? It's probably the number one overall pick. I don't think there's even a trade price here, though. I think Urban Meyer's, like, literally, even if you try to, like, Mike Dick or Ricky Williams, trade your whole draft for one player. If I'm the Jags, like, there's no price. Like, Trevor Lawrence is my guy. So, for the rest of this mock draft, we're going to have a little bit of fun here with the quarterbacks because there's two massive quarterbacks. Massive. One's a lot better than the other one, but Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz, both of those trades will be reflected in this mock draft as we try to figure out the quarterback situation. And speaking on the college quarterbacks, I have officially posted my top 15, 16, I think I ranked 16 quarterbacks for this upcoming draft over on my Patreon. There's been 2 or 3 different mock drafts uploaded as well since the last time I plugged it. Go check it out right now. It's an easy way to go above and beyond and support my YouTube channel as well as get a lot of draft knowledge, especially if you like the way that I evaluate, the way I like to look at my players. Go check out the Patreon. That being said, that plug's out of the way. Let's get in to this mock draft. And we're going to start with Deshaun Watson. We're going to have two trades that happen. And right now, as far as we know, the lead dog, obviously it might not ever happen this way, but the lead dog for Deshaun Watson, his preferred trade destination is the Jets. It's an easy trade to make for this mock because, like I said, I think it's going to be at least 3 first-round picks. And like if I'm the Jets, I would pay that. Absolutely, I would pay that. I think if I'm the Eagles, I'm an Eagles fan right now. I would pay 3 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks on Andre Dillard because I know for 100% fact, it's almost like no knowledge that like 2 years ago, the Houston Texans absolutely were locked and loaded on drafting Andre Dillard, and Philadelphia leapfrogged them, got Andre Dillard, and then they had to settle with Titus Howard, who might be better suited as a guard anyways. So that's what I would do. 100% as an Eagle fan right now, I'd offer number 6. I would offer whatever first-round pick we get for Carson Wentz. I'd offer a future first-round pick and Andre Dillard. That's what I'm starting with. But if you're the Jets, for the sake that they have 2 first-round picks in this mock draft, the Jets trade for Deshaun Watson. Houston Texans are here. Also, we got to handle the other trade, Carson Wentz. I think for this mock draft, Wentz will end up a member of the Chicago Bears. I know if you're a Bears fan, you're probably not too happy about this, even though there are some Bears fans that do think that like Matt Nagy can reclaim his career. But for this mock draft, Deshaun Watson has gone to the Jets. Carson Wentz has gone to the Bears. Philly has picked 20. The Houston Texans have picked 2. And I think the Houston Texans, given their head coaching hire, they got a guy that's worked with Josh Allen, most recently with Lamar Jackson. I'm just going to make, it's a simple conclusion, but I feel like Justin Fields at this given point in time is the guy that Houston Texans like. And that's the case. He's not my QB2. You can go check out my Patreon and see who my QB2 was. But, I'm not going to bet against Justin Fields. I think there are some concerns. I think he's a slow processor. I think that there's this valid concern about Ohio State quarterbacks because the scheme and the system. But I think the Houston Texans are not a great ran organization. And I think given that the direction and all the things that they've shown us this offseason, I feel like Justin Fields would be the guy they're picked to. And that's still not all doom and gloom. Don't get me wrong, it's still not all doom and gloom. Justin Fields, if he can hit, if they can develop him, has a high ceiling. Absolutely. He has athletic tools that can't be taught. He has arm talent that a lot of quarterbacks in this draft class wish they had. A lot of quarterbacks in the NFL wish they had. But it's going to take a lot of work to hone in and refine Justin Fields. And best of luck to the Houston Texans if you can do that. We now have pick 3, the Miami Dolphins. I'm Philadelphia. I'm actually pretty worried at this point. At pick 3, I'd be trading if I'm the Eagles. And I'm going to use compensation from roughly when the Chicago Bears traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky. Sorry, Bears. This is double win. If you're a Bears fan that don't want to trade for Carson Wentz, and I'm bringing up old wounds of Mitchell Trubisky, but Philadelphia, they're now looking at this point like, who's going to leapfrog us? We have to get our quarterback. And I think the team that's most inclined to trade back would be the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins are going to trade Philadelphia pick 3. Eagles are going to get them 6. I think it would cost them their 2nd round pick and probably a future 3rd. Because when the Bears moved up from 3 to 2 to get Trubisky from the 49ers, They gave pick 3, a third, a fourth, and a future third. So I think for Philly to go up 3 spots, I think it's going to cost them a first, a second, and like future third. Somewhere in that range is going to be my valuation. So Philadelphia has traded up to pick 3, and they get the only other quarterback I currently have as a legitimate top 10 pick in this draft. It's not Justin Fields, it's Zach Wilson from BYU. I think Zach Wilson from BYU has very good arm talent. His accuracy is on point. He's a good processor of the football. Really, the knocks against Zach Wilson are literally kind of the knocks against Carson Wentz when we got him out of North Dakota State. Durability and level of competition. And that worked out fairly well until the Eagles organization absolutely screwed and ruined and derailed Carson Wentz's career. So hopefully that doesn't happen again with Zach Wilson. But Philadelphia gets their quarterback. They still have that pick right there to try to, be it a corner, be it a wide receiver, be it it's not going to be a linebacker, but they can still improve their roster. And Zach Wilson, this is the only scenario for me as a Eagle fan. I already made it clear in my Carson Wentz trade video when I was trying to project where he could go. I'm only going to be a happy Eagle fan if Zach Wilson or Deshaun Watson is the quarterback next season. So at least let me live on my fantasy and have Philadelphia get Zach Wilson in this mock draft. Pick 4, the Atlanta Falcons are up. And the Falcons, it seems like Arthur Smith kind of is committing to Matt Ryan. So when you're the Falcons, you look at where else does Atlanta need to go? It's all right, we can look at edge rushers, probably a big need. Corner, edge and corner are the 2 bigs, but there's no truly elite edge. But there is a truly elite corner. So I'm going to have them get Patrick Surtain here out of Alabama that builds a solid young secondary. A.J. Terrell at Clemson really caught on a little bit late last season. Throw that with Surtain. Hell of a way to start rebuilding your defense while still, not giving up on your veterans on offense in Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. Pick 5, the Bengals. They're laughing. They get their dream pick to help protect Mr. Joe Burrow and Penei Sewell, franchise tackle. With that, you can then kick in Jonah Williams to guard. You can kick Jonah Williams on the other side at right tackle. It just improves your offensive line tenfold. Miami at 6. Still, look, it's a perfect board. They got most likely who I thought they'd be debating at pick 3, and they added more value. I think they truly like Devontae Smith more than Jamar Chase. It's not going to be a bad pick. I mean, obviously it's going to be debated 5 years from this draft who's going to be the better one, Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase. But in terms of positive and negatives, I think it's kind of fair, kind of close. The positives are both elite talents. The negatives, Devontae Smith built like a junior high kid, and Jamar Chase didn't play a whole year of football, took the year off. So it's a fine balancing act with the fact that Miami worked with Devontae Smith down at the Senior Bowl. I think they might be a little bit more comfortable with this selection. Plus, you had the chemistry there with Tua. Yeah, we'll go Devontae Smith there at 6. You have the Detroit Lions at pick 7. I'm going to have them grab Micah Parsons here. I think the Lions almost has to be a defensive player. Assuming that they bring back Kenny Galladay right now. They got your brand new quarterback in Jared Goff. Micah Parsons does have, right now the scouts are kind of starting to leak out a little bit that he's immature and stuff like that, has maturity concerns. But until I see a bong mask on draft night, I can't ignore the talent enough to really scoot him out of my top 10 right now, because he's going to be one of those guys. If the red flags are bad enough, he ends up kind of falling to the teens, maybe in the low 20s. Congrats. Whoever team gets him, you get the steal of the draft, because he is a legitimate top 10 talent, especially at the linebacker spot, especially with how hit or miss this year's linebacker class can be at the top end of it. After Micah Parsons, you have Owusu Koroma from Notre Dame, who looks like he's going to be pretty good, but there could be some size concerns. Zaven Collins is from Tulsa. I think Zaven Collins is an elite prospect. Could be some level of competition concerns. Nick Bolton, is he really a first rounder quite yet? Maybe not. So grab Micah Parsons. He can do a lot of things for your defense, and he's a Dan Campbell pick. That seems like a Dan Campbell pick. Pick 8, Carolina. At this spot, they're going to go, okay, well, that works out well for us. We didn't have to move anywhere, and we got our quarterback. They got Trey Lance. I've talked about this pick any other time I made this mock draft. It just makes sense. You got 1 year Joe Brady, probably maybe 2, but probably only 1 more year Joe Brady. Haven't developed Trey Lance, as you have Teddy Bridgewater be the placeholder quarterback. It's a win-win. Denver's sitting here being like, all right, well, we didn't get our quarterback. We didn't get Deshaun Watson. We're not going to be able to draft one. So if you're the Denver Broncos, you need to look elsewhere. And I think the Denver Broncos are a team that, D-line. They can go anywhere in D-line. They can go back end on the defense. Most likely they should get Justin Simmons. Does he have a new contract yet? But corner, safety, those are the type of things that I would consider. And I think at this point, Caleb Farley. That is the best available corner. Watching a little bit more tape of him, he was one of those prospects I was a little bit unsure of, but I am starting to work through some corners because corner tape is like almost, I will say honestly, corner tape's almost as bad as like watching linemen because like all 22, it's hard. They're not always getting action. You have to watch a lot of plays that like the ball's not even in their area. You're just like, wow, now is his hips good? Does he have, is he able to like, how's his hand fighting? Where are his eyes? All that. It's just not, it's not entertaining, but I've gone through a little bit of Virginia Tech's games last year. He looks good, man. He looks good. I don't know for sure that he's top 10, but if you're the Denver Broncos and you're kind of out of the quarterback sweepstakes, I don't think you can go wrong with Caleb Farley there. He looks like a legitimate first-round corner, and those are always good. Pick 10, the Dallas Cowboys. A little bit upset here because I think the Dallas Cowboys would be pretty intrigued at going cornerback there, but for the rest of the Dallas Cowboys, they're going to be like, all right, well, where else can we go? Because you're not going to get J.C. Horn at 10, right? We're going to assume that Dak Prescott is going to be back, even if he isn't back, you're not getting Mac Jones here. I think it would be a perfect time for Dallas to either consider Kyle Pitts, but knowing that how good their offense is, much as that pains me to say, I think you got to go edge. They got to improve the defense right now. And like when you show like you got Alden Smith and like all these different things, and well, it kind of worked in Randy Gregory. Those guys aren't reliable. Get someone in Gregory Rousseau that's a D lineman, an edge that you can build around. He'd be easily the most upside edge rusher they've had since like DeMarcus Ware, right? So I think Gregory Rousseau, nice pick there for Dallas. Get a part of that D line rotation as a rookie. Incredibly high ceiling, and hopefully I hope they don't develop him, but maybe they can develop him. But edge rusher there at 10 for Dallas, getting the first edge off the board. That's usually a hell of a value. First edge is usually not going out the board at pick 10, but it is here in this mock draft. Pick 11. We have the New York Giants, and I think when you're the Giants, well, you kind of want a quarterback, but there's not a lot of quarterbacks there, and this is going to be a very annoying pick for me to make, but I think if I'm the Giants here at pick 11, and, Rousseau's gone. They could have been in love with Rousseau. This might be a little anti-Dave Gettleman, but I think I go Jamar Chase. I think the last time they got an LSU wide receiver, very much in the first round. I mean, it didn't work out in the great scheme of things. I just think when you look at the Giants, it's probably going to be another year Danny Dimes. And if you're going to go another Danny Dimes, why not give him a guy that's most likely the best wide receiver in the draft? And he complements what you already have there. You can have Sterling Shepard stay in the slot. Golden Tate, also kind of a slot guy. Darius Slayton is a deep threat. Evan Ingram at tight end. Offensive line was playing generally pretty well last year. So I feel like a guy like Jamar Chase, it's almost unfair to compare Jamar Chase to Odell because Odell was a little bit of a head case. I don't think there's any of those issues right now with Jamar Chase. The only connection they have is productive LSU wide receivers. That's just be annoying, though, because as an Eagle fan, you're just like, well, if we kept Carson Wentz, Jamar Chase would have been an Eagle. And this is always going to be a comparison that pretty much every Eagle fan would make to the other time if this actually played out this way. Pick 12, we have the San Francisco 49ers. And I think the 49ers here, they kind of need a quarterback, but that's a little bit off the board. So they're more so looking for corners. Is there a corner at pick 12 that's absolutely worthy of pick 12? Without giving away my rankings, my next corner is not one of these guys. So they do really need a corner. They do need a safety. Don't really need a linebacker. A lot of people think they might want someone like Kyle Pitts, which would just be ridiculous. This is a tough one. This is honestly a tough one if you're the 49ers here. If you're the 49ers, you're like, all right. Defense is pretty elite, right? Outside of corner, your defense is really good for the most part, right? Could use a safety. Could go a little bit on the offensive line, but there's no lineman, I don't think, at pick 12. Like, Slater? Slater kind of makes the most sense. Because I think I actually had Slater in my last mock draft. Because you're getting a guy that can play guard or tackle, have him play guard right away, and then eventually he could potentially be your successor to Trent Williams. I guess. At this point, I mean, they could go Kyle Pitts, and that's no slight at George Kittle. Kyle Pitts would just be another weapon for them to have on offense. They could go, J.C. Horn. They could grab a corner here. But I just don't think, I think best value is just going on the trenches, building the trenches, and Slater's day one starter, plug-and-play starter. Pick 13. Plus you leapfrog, because I think at pick 13, if Slater were still there, that is where the Chargers would have went. So when you're looking at the Chargers and what they're looking at, again, it's pretty much every spot on the offensive line and a quarterback. So it's very similar needs to really what the 49ers are looking for. So given that that's the board, I think if I am the Chargers, I'm continuing to build the offensive line. I'm going with the guy that I think most likely is going to be a franchise tackle for my mock draft. That is Cosmi from Texas. I think he is a very good tackle. I think he's best suited to probably be a plug-and-play right tackle day one, assuming that Okun's still there as a left tackle for the Chargers. So we'll grab Cosmi here. Protecting Justin Herbert would be a top priority. Minnesota Vikings. And when you look at the Vikings, I think Kirk Cousins could potentially be like the surprise quarterback trade of this offseason. But outside of that, for the Vikings, they're looking for guard. They're looking for defensive tackle. They can look for edge rusher. And they're sitting at a spot, again, this is almost as automatic as, if this is how the board goes, as Trevor Lawrence to the Jags. Christian Barmore is bona fide, legitimate, first-round defensive lineman, exactly what the Minnesota Vikings need. And same thing goes for this. Barmore and Pitts, they're still there. Those are match mades in heaven. Those teams are super ecstatic that they were able to make that selections. Pick 16, we have the Arizona Cardinals. They are low-key a team that could maybe try to trade up if Kyle Pitts slips because they desperately need a tight end. I think Kyle Pitts in that air raid offense would be ridiculously crazy. Jaylen Waddle still on the board. There's been some injury concerns with Waddle. That's why he's slipping just a little bit. And even then, I think that's disrespectful to have him slip. I mean, it's just more so which one of these teams after, like, I don't think the Niners would need a wideout. Maybe the Chargers. Maybe the Patriots. Jaylen Waddle makes a lot of sense to the Patriots as well. That being said, though, I think when you're sitting here with Arizona, it's still not a bad board. I mean, Horn at 16 is not bad. I think if you want to edge rusher, Kwity Paye's a great scheme fit. Fits their 3-4. You could have, I don't really know how Matt badly needs. I mean, for this being the board, I think Kwity Paye makes a lot of sense. And knowing how desperate the team behind you are, just kind of play a little bit of like, hey, you want to trade up? You want to trade up a spot there, Oakland? Not even Oakland anymore. Las Vegas? Because if not, I'm grabbing the best edge rusher. I'm grabbing the guy most likely you want. Maybe they can play a little bit of ball there. But edge rusher makes sense there because Son Riddick's had to be a free agent. Don't know if they're going to repay him. They probably should because he's finally starting to get a little bit of return on their investment from the first-round pick when they got him at a Temple a couple years ago. But well, I'm going to get Kwity Paye, edge rusher. But now that I'm looking back at it, a scenario where the Patriots get Jaylen Waddle, and then at 16, Kyle Pitts, that'd be pretty ridiculous, actually, value. Pick 17, Las Vegas Raiders. And when you look at the Raiders here, they are very much looking at the defensive line. They're looking at a safety, potentially. I think that if I'm the Raiders at this point, this is... we'll just say, screw it, get the best edge rusher. I think Jalen Phillips is going to only rise up draft. Like right now, Jalen Phillips is kind of almost a hipster pick for the first round. I still think it's the closer that we get to the actual draft, more and more people are pretty much he's going to be an automatic first round pick. And I would honestly say that if I'm the Raiders and you're like, oh my God, I think I would personally rather Jalen Phillips than Kwity Paye. But Kwity Paye, you're getting the athleticism, but I think Jalen Phillips has a little bit better pass rush moves, a little bit better technique at this point, and he's no slouch of an athlete. He was like the number one high school recruit a couple of years ago when he went to UCLA. Very, very good athletically. Not S tier like Kwity Paye, but he's A tier, and I think you have a higher ceiling. So don't be doom and gloom. That's a good fit if you are a Raiders fan. Pick 18. Dolphins back on the board. First selection, they got Devontae Smith at wide receiver. So now they're like, all right, well, what's next? What other needs do the Miami Dolphins need? I think they still absolutely could go and grab a tackle. They could get an edge rusher. They could get a linebacker. I've had this, at this point, honestly, in my last mock draft, I haven't get Zaven Collins. I love that fit still. But I think that you also want to protect your guy. I think Darisaw would be a hell of a picker. Just to make it a little bit different, I think getting an offensive tackle here in Darisaw who can come in right away, play right tackle. You can kick Hunt in to right guard. Left guard could be Solomon Kindley. Center still needs to get a little bit worked out, but your offensive line is finally starting to take place. And I think that ultimately, if you need a linebacker, second round, you're going to have the Bolton, Moses, Surratt, Jabril Cox type thing for that linebacker need. Second round at tackle, you're going to be more so picking with Reduns and Carman and Walker. I think the drop-off, grab your tackle here, and you can finish out filling out that defense that's already elite. It's another thing, too, the justification. You already have a very elite defense. The offense is what needs the big-time investments. Reinvest in your offense and gamble that you can hit maybe a little bit later round on the defense because you already know that worst-case scenario, If those defensive picks don't work out, you still already had an elite defense. Make sure you hit on the can't misses on the offensive side of the ball. So I have them getting Darisaw here at tackle. 19, Washington. If this is the board, honestly, and I'm football team, I'm grabbing Jaylen Waddle. I'm running. Even though you still don't have your quarterback. And I think my last mock draft, I had them get Mac Jones here, which I think could totally happen. It's still Alabama pipeline. You just need best player available. And the fact that Jaylen Waddle's still there. And I'll be the first one to admit that, like, 3 years, give me 3 years, Jaylen Waddle absolutely could emerge as the best wide receiver between him, Jamar Chase, and Devontae Smith. So that is good value there for Washington. Get another playmaker that's outside of Scary Terry. You don't have to rely on Logan Thomas, a converted quarterback, to be your second big playmaker through the air. 20, Philly's back on the clock. What did I just do to myself? This is disgusting. 100% Jaylen Waddle would have been the pick for Philly at 20. Like, I should have just made up some other reason so I could have had Philly get Jaylen Waddle here. God damn it. All right. Well, J.C. Horn, yeah. This is what I would do if I was the Eagles, okay? At this point, I get Zaven Collins. Not going to happen, but I'm not acting as Harry Roseman because Harry Roseman most likely wouldn't have the balls to trade up and get Zach Wilson. At this point, you're looking at corners. I like Horn. I don't hate Horn. Like, the fact that I'm skipping on it doesn't mean I don't like him. It's just I don't have like a legitimate first round grade. He's a guy that's a really good corner. I have him more as a second rounder. The top edges are 3-4s, right? Wide receivers, Bateman, Kadarius Toney. I'm a Gator fan. Even then, I don't know if I'd take a first rounder on Toney yet. His route running's not there. He was preferred to quarterback. Really good for sure. But first rounders, you go with a guy that you can't teach what he has. Zaven Collins is an A-tier linebacker athletically that 6'4", 250 pounds, coverage is a strength, sideline to sideline abilities on point. You watch the Super Bowl, you see what elite linebacker play can do. You saw it firsthand. Devin White, we saw firsthand Levante David. Those linebackers took over the Super Bowl against one of the best offenses we've ever seen. Elite linebackers are undervalued in today's NFL, and it's about time Philadelphia bucked the trend. And I think Zaven Collins, I did pass over Owusu-Koramoah for him, but I think if I'm Philadelphia, Zaven Collins here, you have Alex Singleton, a little bit of breakout. I would hit all in on Jabril Cox, third round, somewhere in that range. Whatever pick you didn't give up in compensation, but that's where I would go. You just saw firsthand in the Super Bowl what a great linebacking tandem can do. Philadelphia has ignored that position for decades. Zaven Collins at pick 20. Do it. Get it done. Seal the deal. 21, we have the Colts. Indianapolis Colts here at 21. They desperately need a quarterback. I think I'll do it. Mac Jones, if you kind of think about it as Frank Reich had his most success, if you can parlay the Eagles Frank Reich thing into the success he had with Nick Foles, you could be optimistic about Frank Reich and what he can do with Mac Jones. Because Mac Jones is kind of along the lines, like if you're ever talking about build of like a Nick Foles, Phillip Rivers type, right? So it's not the worst. It's not the worst pick. I think the Colts are just they're not a poorly ran team. They're not going to panic. Chris Ballard's an exceptional general manager. But if they're on the short side of Wentz, they can't find a way to get Deshaun. They can't convince Andrew Luck to come back. Mac Jones is not going to be there for them in the second round. And if this is like what you're working with the quarterbacks, is Jacoby Brissett, I'd probably rather Mac Jones at 21. 22, we have the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans at this spot, they can look at wide receiver. They can look at edge rusher. They can look at corner. And the edge board's good. Ojulari, Joe Asai. I like Asai a little bit more as a fit. I think he's a better complement to what... I think Ojulari at this point is more of a pure edge, whereas Joseph Asai is a little bit more complete of a linebacker as opposed to just a 3-4 edge. So I think Asai gives him a little bit more on the defense than just pure pass rushing ability. So I think it's a nice versatility piece to go on the other side of Harold Landry. 23, Houston Texans, their next pick. Well, they already moved on to Deshaun Watson. They have Justin Fields at quarterback. So for the Houston Texans, you're kind of like, all right, we could use an edge rusher for sure. We could improve the back end of the defense potentially. So you look at the edge rushers here, Ojulari. Are they still going to be in a 3-4? I think they're still going to be in a 3-4. But, it's actually an interesting pick. I think I'll try to get better corner. We'll go and get J.C. Horn here at corner. I do think J.C. Horn might sneak in the first. We got to see the pro days. If he's in the 4-4s, shows off his athleticism, because obviously he has the alpha outside corner aggressive mentality we saw at South Carolina. If he can back that with athleticism, yeah, he should submit himself as a first-round pick. And then you look at the Texans here. They have Bradley Roby, who's a solid corner. Outside of that, though, it's kind of a bunch of swing and misses. They're trying to like hit on Garyon Conley and all this stuff. So get a little bit more stability there. J.C. Horn, you could do a lot worse. And I'm going to be 100% honest. I pretty much made that as a safe pick because I'm not 100% sure if they're staying in a 3-4 or a 4-3. Ojulari could make some sense if you really need an edge rusher. But they still have Merciless, right? I don't think he's out of contract. But I mean, I guess he could go on the other side. But then you have the guy you traded Jadeveon Clowney for, right? Martin from Temple, right? He's an elite pick, right? Shout out to Bill O'Brien. 24 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're like, okay, well, they might need a running back. I think tackle makes a lot of sense for Pittsburgh here. And if tackle makes sense, you got Mayfield from Michigan. I think my last mock draft I had him getting Eckenberg from Notre Dame. I think I don't think he's 47. I think that's a little low for him. But Mayfield, really good. You know, his Michigan tape was solid. I remember him going up against Ohio State. That was very good. Popped a lot. And improve the offensive line. It looks like maybe Big Ben could come back, run it back for another year. Protect him, keep him upright, help out your run game. Mayfield does a lot of those, ticks off a lot of those boxes to help improve that offensive line. Jacksonville at 25. You got Trevor Lawrence. I have been just pigeonholing Pat Freiermuth here. Let's see if we can do something a little bit different for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You look at the Jaguars, now they get their quarterback. They still need tight end. They still need tackle. I think they could go inside a defensive tackle as well. Leatherwood makes sense, right? Alex Leatherwood, you could plug and play him at, this tackle's a tough one. It's outside perception. Jags fans hate their offensive line. From an outsider looking in, you're like, well, are you good about McCam Robinson? Jawan Taylor, hasn't he been solid? You have Norwell, a lot of money there. Linder, a lot of money there on the interior. But Jags fans really want to tackle. So if I'm going to throw a different wrench in here and have them not go after Pat Freiermuth, which I think would be a great fit. And then you're trying to look at like maybe Wyatt Davis. If there's some Ohio State bias from Urban Meyer. That's probably the only other Ohio State guy that would be in consideration here. They could look at Sean Wade potentially, but I think I'd go Leatherwood. Leatherwood at tackle, knowing that a lot of Jags fans desperately want to get better on the offensive line. Even though I don't 100% agree with this, give me something a little bit different here, Jags fans. Pick 26, the Browns. This is always, again, kind of a great fit. Karoma at middle linebacker. Browns desperately need a middle linebacker, someone that can lead that defense, someone that can fill the shoes of Joe Schobert. And I think that Owusu Karoma can be that man. Pick 27, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are going to need an edge rusher. They need a wide receiver. I just think Matt Judon wants like $80 million on the open market. Let's have him get Ojulari at edge. It's solid value. Pure edge rusher can develop. And let's be honest, pretty much any pick the Ravens makes it's going to hit. So we'll have them go on the defensive side. And then next round, you can look at whatever wide receiver splits. 28, we have the New Orleans Saints. I would hope in this scenario, though, Philly could be fine. Like, just be beating out the doors for the New Orleans Saints to try to flip Jalen Hurts there. I think Jalen Hurts would be perfect. If I'm a Saints fan, that's the guy I'd want. I'd want Jalen Hurts over Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill or anything like that. Because the New Orleans Saints, they're not in a spot to get a quarterback. I don't think they're really going to go after Kyle Trask. They could use a linebacker. They could use tight end. They could use a wide receiver. I feel like, almost BPA, the Packers want a wide receiver at this point. Let's get Rashad Bateman. Let's get another playmaker that's not Michael Thomas, because we saw when Michael Thomas was out of the lineup, passing, it just wasn't the same. And obviously Michael Thomas is a very good talent, even though we meme him about the slants and stuff. But let's have another playmaker there, because you've seen all the flyers, right? You have the special teams guy. Can't remember his name, Dante Harris, something like that. But they've had like 1 year fly, Emmanuel Sanders. They've had Ted Ginn. They've never really had like another developmental guy, kind of Traquan Smith, but he wasn't a huge investment. So get Rashad Bateman here, help out whoever the next quarterback is in New Orleans with another weapon that's not just Michael Thomas. 29, the Green Bay Packers. This is going to be another interesting one because who are they losing in free agency? I got to lose Lindsey at center because then interior of the offensive line becomes a little bit of a need. They've needed wide receiver for a lot of time. I honestly, I'm going to have fun with this one. I think that if I'm the Green Bay Packers and this is the board, and you look at Green Bay, you're like, all right, we need wide receiver, probably a linebacker still. You could always use an inside linebacker. At this point, Bolton, I don't really think so. Have a little fun. Get Kadarius Toney. Absolute playmaker. Unlike any other wide receiver you have on your roster, right? And the ceiling is very, very high. And you're not going to have the responsibility of him being wide receiver one because you have Devontae Adams. I think Kadarius Toney would be really fun in Green Bay. Maybe it's not the best pick. Maybe it's not the smartest pick. I do think that this, as a Gator fan, I can tell you right now, this would be a pretty fun pick for me if I was an unknown. If you're a Packer fan, you don't know much about Kadarius Toney, have fun. He's going to be really, really good for you. This is another pick that I really like. Not to give way in my rankings. You need Buffalo, and you look at the Buffalo Bills. They could use corner. I think they're going to re-sign Matt Milano, so they don't really need linebacker help. I think they could use corner. I've been loving Shaun Wade, but Shaun Wade's kind of tanked himself out of the first round at this point, even though he's the type of corner that they need. I think they could use edge rusher for sure. I think they could go tackle potentially, keep protecting the offensive line. Vera-Tucker can play guard tackle. You get some versatility there. Wyatt Davis is still solid value. I think that you could also look at... this is a tough one for Buffalo because there's just no corner there that I think the Buffalo Bills would absolutely crave. Your safeties are good. I mean, at this point, I'd be like trying to trade down, I suppose. If we're staying here, I would have them get Boogie Basham. Like, the only thing I can kind of remember people complaining about when I watched the Buffalo Bills play was their D-line. You know, as much as they had Ed Oliver and they had Jerry Hughes and all that stuff, it was just a little inconsistent. So I think edge rusher, Boogie Basham, I still have a fringe first-round grade on him. That's where I would go. Interested here. What would you do at this point? This was your board, Bills fans, and I can't think of a trade route. Where would you want to go? Like Vera-Tucker on the O-line, potentially, is probably the best value pick. But would you do 100% grab a corner here? Would you grab Campbell Stokes, Sante Samuel? Would you still go Shaun Wade because you know you just need a slot? Or would you grab a safety to get younger at that position? Have a third safety out there. But I'm going to get Boogie Basham. 31, Kansas City Chiefs. We just, again, here's going to be Vera-Tucker. Offensive line was disgustingly bad in the Super Bowl. Showed just how lack of depth. Vera-Tucker can be guard. He can be a tackle. His versatility is really what pigeonholes him here to the Kansas City Chiefs at 31. And we finished the mock draft. 32, Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay, for my money, they are going to have to go and get an edge rusher. Jason Oweh is kind of like Kwity Paye, but what are they losing? Shaq Barrett, 100% they're not going to have the money to bring. I think they could have enough money to Godwin. Maybe. Probably not Godwin, though. They have a lot of expensive free agents. A lot of guys that signed one-year deals to win. Only so much salary cap to go along. And I think the biggest loss out of all those could be wide receiver, right? If you lose Chris Godwin, someone like Terrace Marshall would make a lot of sense. Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, very good slot wide receiver. But I think you're going to look at the big picture and be like, we got to replace Shaq Barrett because we don't have great rotational edge depth. And Oweh is kind of like Kwity Paye in a way. The production wasn't there. Young playmaker, high ceiling, great athlete, exceptional athlete. Oweh might be the next, kind of twitchy guy that I don't think he's going to be as scary as Montez Sweat when the pro day numbers come out, but a lot of people are hyping him up. A lot of guys that are, in touch with a lot of these college weight room programs, they are hyping up the Penn State edge rusher here. So let's just say, twitchy edge rusher, this late first round pick, it's a match made in heaven. It's what happens. It's the range they go. So there you go, guys. That is my post Super Bowl mock draft. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Had some fun, had some trades, did some crazy things. Looking back at picks that I don't like, now I can kind of look back, I don't think I'm super in love with. Farley's always going to be a guy that I don't know. Top 10 still feels a little bit weird to have him there. I think this whole, if the board kind of falls as it is, Jaylen Waddle, Kyle Pitts could change up this Patriots and Arizona selections. I still think there could be teams trading up, more trades. I just kind of focus on the QB trades more trades probably could be happening that I did not make. I would love to hear if you were fan of a team that's watched this and you're hoping they would trade up. Let me know so I can keep that in mind for future mock drafts, that these are teams that would want to trade up for players that aren't necessarily quarterbacks. And obviously that is very painful. Having Jaylen Waddle go 1 pick before Philadelphia, where I 100% would have drafted him. But it is what it is. Mac Jones to the Colts. That could be interesting. Horn, part of that Deshaun Watson compensation. You trade Deshaun Watson for J.C. Horn, Justin Fields, and a future first-round pick. How do you feel about that, Houston Texan fans? But that'll do for my mock draft. I've held up too much of your time. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, can't confirm, but hopefully it will be the first episode of our coaching dynasty in college football revamped with Tom Savage. Savage Legends back. If not, if I can't get that done in time, I'll probably just shoot out another episode of the Chargers flashback rebuild, because those are not incredibly stressful or daunting time-wise to record and get uploaded. But I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Thank you for watching this mock draft. Like, again, if you like my draft content, over on my Patreon, there's a lot of exclusive stuff. I think it only costs you $5 to get the tier. Running back rankings will be posted at some point this week. Quarterback rankings are already up. There's already a bunch of mock drafts already done. Go check it out if you want to try to support my channel, support me. But that'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. I think the snowplow just came through. I have to go shovel again. So I'll see you guys back here in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace out.